Shoot, we'll manage. Yeah.
We,
Yeah. I'll repeat the question.
Here you are.
Yeah, I was reading your same lecture in Lahore that I think you read out the rules of passion or requirement of it, and all the books that you've written. My question is that, as you said, with maturity, our perspective, our understanding of things change. Do you agree, and that's how I am maturing into this belief, being a Muslim and all of that, that do we need to use, you don't use that word very often, secular. Do we need to make our lives, because the anger, the aggression and all do not so much happen about fashion differences or cooking differences or even politics, but it's happening more about faith. So do we need to popularize that secular is not anti-religion? Our lives should become more secular in our thinking and more accommodating, and less religion and the belief and the goodness of all the beliefs and the goodness of inclusiveness and all of that. We know that that was a path that Islam or any other or Muslims should have taken. But we also know that the more fear of the word secular has been misinterpreted. So do you agree that,
Okay.
I don't see you including that word.
Good.
Thank you.
I couldn't hear a lot.
Okay. There's a request that if I can just rephrase the question. The word secular is not used in your writings. In Pakistan, there is a perception that the word secular means anti-religion, from one point of view. On the other hand, there is a huge obsession with discussing the basics of faith or the details of faith to such a degree that then all other discussion gets marginalized. So there is a space for being secular, yet there is a fear of being secular, if I'm reflecting you right. What's your take on that?
Well, there's secular. You can't sort of just say what secularism is, because yeah, I know, but it's very difficult to say what secularism can be very angry. It can be very filled with a righteous hate of religion. It can just be a weariness with religion, and it's very rife in my country. In the UK, only 6% of the population attend a religious service regularly. And I bet that a lot of that 6% are Muslims who've bumped up our national average considerably. But secularism can simply just mean let's keep religion out of politics. I'm sorry, it's very difficult.
Life.
Pardon?
She's saying, let's keep religion out of
Well,
life
it's not,
as a whole.
Yeah, but to keep religion out of life is not realistic. You know, that's what Richard Dawkins says. It's simply not realistic. Human beings are religious people. Homo sapiens is Homo religiosus. One of the first documents of our species are the caves in Lascaux in southern France, the cave paintings, which show obviously used for some cult, but also the first works of art on an extended scale. And the two are linked, just as there are always going to be people who want to dance, and there are always going to be people who want to write poetry and paint pictures. There are people who want to be religious for two reasons. We are meaning-seeking creatures, and that's what art does for us too. We want to find meaning in our lives. We are worried. A dog, for example, doesn't spend a great deal of time worrying about the canine condition or the plight of dogs in the next world. It just goes with the flow and lives in the moment. But we do. We struggle with these things. When we struggle with our mortality. We struggle with the sorrow of life. We struggle with the injustice and cruelty we see all around us. And if we don't find meaning, we can fall easily into despair. And the other thing is that we are people who live in relation to something transcendent. Art brings us to transcendent. I was listening to music last night, and it takes you into another sphere. And art and religion are very closely combined. Religion, in some parts of the world, you'd have your wish, perhaps you better migrate to Europe or to Britain, because their secularism is the coming ideology. But everywhere else, religion is on the increase. People are becoming more religious. So it shows that to try and wipe it out, or say, right, that's the end of it, is inevitably going to cause that kind of reaction of hard line that we had before. Let's try and nudge religion into a more wholesome state. When I was some of you may have heard me this morning saying that when I received the TED Prize, Daniel Dennett, who is one of the 4 great atheists of the moment, was present in the audience. And he was asked, well, Dan, what do you feel about Curran's wish? And he said, what would Richard Dawkins say? And he said, look, if I had to choose on this matter between my dear, dear friend Richard and Curran, I'd have to go with Curran. Because religion, Richard, he says, wants to exterminate religion. You don't want to exterminate a species, you want to push it into a more fruitful method of... and religion's very complicated. To say let's get rid of it all is not really on the agenda. I'm sorry, I just can't hear you.
It's okay. Right, we have another question there. Yes.
Okay, I don't have a question, I just want to make a remark. By the way, my name is Badr Khan and I am an engineer by profession. I just want to make a remark on what you said, that you are a freelancer of faith. I think Quran says that Abraham was not a Jew nor a Christian. So if you believe in all three, you are a Muslim, means obedience to God. Obedient to God. Now the other question, when you said that you have also studied other religion and found so many good things, I'm sure Quran says that you have to, whoever believes in one God and believes in the afterlife, he doesn't have to worry about anything. Which means that it covers the whole humanity.
MashaAllah. Good. Yes, it does.
And it also, our Prophet has said that there are 124,000 prophets. That means that maybe Buddha was a prophet, maybe any other one that you are talking about was a prophet, and if he has left things that was good, that appeals to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Badr sir. Yes, please. I see another hand. Okay. Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
You just mentioned, Karen, that the basis of all movement, religious movement, has been because of fear to be wiped out.
No, not all religious movements, the hardline ones.
The hardline ones.
Yes.
My question is there a nexus between politics and religion?
Between
Politics and
religion? If
politics.
If there is a nexus between politics and religion, then I think the hardliners are being used by the politicians. What is your comment on that?
Could you just...
The hardliners are being used by the politicians for their purposes.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah,
Yes.
certainly.
Yeah, most certainly. That's certainly the case in the United States. And also politicians pander to certain religious parties in order to get votes. So certainly, I think that politics, I think you can be prophetic as regards politics. You can stand up and speak for right, for justice, for goodness, for kindness. But once you start sort of conflating a political party with God, so that God is on your side and not on the other side, I think you've lost the plot. Because God is for all people. God has made us all. We are all God's children. And so all this can be difficult. This is a difficult mix. And the abuse of religion in a political guise. So, now, a lot of these hardline, some of them at any rate, some called fundamentalist ideologies, are very, very political. You can see them as a religiously articulated form of nationalism, patriotism, or, Zionism. The Zionist fundamentalism is very patriotic. Fundamentalism in Christianity in the United States is very, very much nationalistic. It's for America, and it wants to see a Christian America and a different kind of America from what there is, a more, less tolerant, more sticking to the Bible, and they're working to get that. Inevitably, religion is going to merge with politics, but try to remember that God is not a politician. God sees everything from a different perspective. And our aim is to try to get that wider perspective as far as we can.
And ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasant duty to share with you just a news item, if you like, and also to share with Dr. Armstrong a reference we made yesterday. 5 Al-Qaeda extremists arrested in Yemen were sentenced to death for their crimes. And instead of killing them, the judge, Hamoud al-Hitar of Yemen, said, "No, I will use dialogue." And he said to them a very simple proposition: "We will have conversation with you about your readings of the Quran and our readings of the Quran. And if you manage to convince us, we will support your cause forever. But if we manage to convince you, you will renounce violence forever." It just so happened, ladies and gentlemen, that those people, in the space of the several months that they had dialogue over the verses that they talked about, it turned out that those that they had as proof texts, as out of context sentences memorized and brainwashed, were totally put aside by the other parts of the Quran and its message of compassion, wisdom. 100% of the people renounced violence and they turned over. I think ultimately it isn't killing that prevails or violence that prevails, it is the voice of wisdom that prevails. I think on that note, I realize my people have already given me the signal. Dr. Karen needs to be elsewhere. Her visa for this session is over. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We can pause. Some housekeeping announcements. First, Amin Hashwani, sir.
Excuse me, just one question, one announcement that I would strongly urge all of you to kindly visit the Charter for Compassion website, charterforcompassion.org.pk, and please give us your suggestions. Thank you.
They'll be hoiking me up.
want advice from you.
Later. अभी नहीं, अभी advice not दे, अभी section के लिए बोलो.
The picture.
Sure. Okay.
One more. Come on, take it fast.
This is amazing.
Yeah.